Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we are watching Sydney Watson again with Liberal Women Have Reached Peak Insanity.
28 weeks pregnant. You know what I'm gonna take? Some Tylenol, acetaminophen. Gonna work like a charm, and my baby won't have autism.
I always feel like we finally hit peak stupidity, but then things happen. And once again, I am proved wrong. Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And today is an especially bumpy hell gondola ride indeed. Also, I really quickly want to make note of some things happening over with my tea company. If you are new, will probably be back in stock tomorrow. Worried about the expiration impending. Now, we have
this video, I already have seen some of the other stuff coming around outside of it. I don't know if she made it before these events or after, but I already know there's been a big spike in pregnant women and women in general having to be sent to the ER for Tylenol overdose, where for the pregnant women, you should be 100% charged with child abuse for this. No question, no doubt. You are abusing your kid by even putting the risk of, the warnings that were just given by HHS, by DHHS and the president. And it's like, if you are just doing it to go against him, then yeah, I think 100% when your baby's born, it should be adopted by a loving, conservative Christian family who will actually care for its well-being, unlike the biological mother.
Have an especially dumb thing to talk about today because it's the end of 2025 and nothing has improved. I am sure many of you have already seen the recent announcement by Trump and the Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., made here at the end of September that the FDA will be updating drug safety guidelines for Tylenol usage for pregnant women. Also known by its other name, acetaminophen, which I won't be saying too much.
Or for the UK guys, paracetamol.
Because it's quite a mouthful, just the way Tylenol likes it. Anyway, the reason for this update is because some studies have associated Tylenol usage during pregnancy with adverse neurological outcomes in children. There is a suggested link to autism as well as other conditions like ADHD. So mothers are taking Tylenol for their headaches and giving their child a permanent one. I am kidding, obviously. We love moms.
Well, some of us ADHD folks and the autistic guys with us, we would agree these conditions are a permanent headache.
Mums on this channel. We respect mums on this channel, but the jokes, they kind of write themselves. I also know this is a very touchy subject. Tylenol, giving all new meaning to big brain. Okay, I'll stop. Trump and RFK Jr. also announced a promising therapeutic treatment for kids with autism that also have folate deficiencies, which I'm not going to get into, but there you go, now you know. Now, although I am a doctor, I am not that kind of a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not going to weigh in here about whether or not all of this is true and fair and accurate. And even the administration, with these new findings, with this new information, has said that because there is conflicting data on the Tylenol subject, the Department of Health and Human Services is advising doctors to use their best judgment, oh god, and offer women the lowest possible dosage for the shortest amount of time when necessary. Which seems pretty fair and reasonable to me. I mean,
yeah, listening to your doctor sounds like a good idea. Now, if you're not listening to your doctor because the president also said the same thing as your doctor, then you're just retarded.
Pregnant women across the board are told not to eat deli meat because 0.012% of them end up getting listeria, which is a bacterial infection that does some kooky stuff. And yet, despite the fact that incidence of this infection is relatively rare, they are still told unilaterally to stay away from the cured pig meat. So if we can do some broad sweeping stuff over here, why can't we do the same thing when it comes to these kind of drugs? That's the real question that I have. So in response to this news, instead of being normal, sane people, progressive women on TikTok have decided to film themselves taking Tylenol while pregnant to, I don't know, spite Trump?
Stick it to Trump.
To get the righties? I don't know the motivation behind this. I did tell you, this is one hell of a gondola ride today.
I've seen this one a few times now.
You know what I'm gonna take?
This
Some
idiot.
Tylenol, acetaminophen.
This idiot.
Gonna work like a charm.
If you actually cared about the unborn child inside of you and, wanted it to have the best life it possibly can, you wouldn't even do this. You wouldn't even risk it. You wouldn't even consider, oh, the president said don't take Tylenol? I guess I'll go do that.
And my baby won't have autism.
Yeah, because you also might kill the baby if you continue to take so much Tylenol, like a handful of these women are. They're overdosing on it, which is putting not only the baby's health at risk, but their own.
Where are the husbands in all of this? Now,
Exactly. These women have no partners. These are just pregnant women. These aren't pregnant families. These are just simply pregnant women. Because otherwise, their husbands would have told them they were absolutely dumb for even attempting this.
a lot of these videos don't have audio, but they feature mostly the same sort of caption. I'm pregnant and have a headache and still reaching for Tylenol. Sorry, not sorry. Orange man is not my OB. I love how they do this because they solely want other women to get on the internet and then seal clap for their utter stupidity. But I think the majority of us are over here like, do you have a dumb? Here's me, a pregnant woman taking Tylenol because I believe in science and not someone who has no medical background.
If you really believed in science, you would have done a simple Google search and realized that even the company, the Tylenol themselves, has said, we actually do not recommend any of our products to be used while you're pregnant.
I am willing to bet this woman wore a mask in her car and spent 3 years being afraid of air. Oh yes, I believe in science, but only when the people I like are telling me the science. I'm sorry, but you just look stocking up on Tylenol because I know it doesn't cause autism. I am not kidding. I would love to know who is impregnating these women, because it's feeling a little irresponsible on the part of the men. I don't know, guys. When I was growing up, I heard that rule.
Men, PSA to all of you out there. Stop breeding with stupid. There's a lesson that I was taught, and it's don't stick your dick in crazy. Don't stick your dick in stupid. Only stick your dick in something that you want to marry and have a wonderful life with.
A lot passed around men about not putting your man pickle in the crazy sauce. If you
hey, she got the same.
Hello, chickens. Editing Sydney from the future here, because I forgot to tell you that there is a kind of sauce that we do like on this channel, although it's not actually sauce, it's hot chocolate. And it's a kind of hot chocolate that helps actually become a dream merchant, because 5% off today.
Ads.
I mean, at least this woman is obviously pregnant, but I don't think she's actually even taking Tylenol here. This tablet is blue. I don't know, maybe there are blue tablets, but usually they're white. So this is what, like extra performing? And why does this read like a Tylenol commercial? Why have you positioned the bottles this way? What am I watching here? I'm reaching for the Tylenol because I work in a pharmacy and know there's zero correlation between Tylenol and autism.
You work in a pharmacy, and yet you're still choosing to make these decisions. Let me know what pharmacy so I can make sure I never go there. Also, I've had a pharmacy nearby me that I tried to get a prescription at, and I didn't even check the reviews on it first, because why would you think to do that? But then after I had problems with them, I went and took a peek. Apparently there had been several different individuals who had gotten the wrong meds from the pharmacy. Like their bag is labeled the correct one, their script is for this, but that's not what they got. It's one of those where it's like, whoa, what are we doing? Why are we not professionally checking credentials for these people who are working in areas that could easily cause a lot of harm and kill somebody?
It's a bold claim. Zero correlation. Okay, pharmacy lady. I do think that this last weird TikTok kind of does hit an odd nail on the head, given that there are a lot of people now who are making the claim that there's no relationship between this drug and negative birth outcomes. And yet there has been evidence mounting for years and years that says exactly the opposite, that does show a correlation between these two things. And I'm not saying how good or bad that evidence is, I'm just saying that it exists. A short trip down memory lane gives us an announcement from the FDA in 2015 suggesting a potential issue with Tylenol and pregnancy. This Johns Hopkins 2019 research paper
Taking Tylenol during pregnancy associated with elevated risk for autism and ADHD. Written November 5th, 2019.
Taking Tylenol during pregnancy associated with elevated risk
Almost
for autism,
6
ADHD.
years ago.
This found that in newborns with the highest exposure to the core drug in Tylenol, they were about 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD or autism spectrum disorder in childhood, which is, that's alarming. In 2016, 2017, and 2021, and honestly, I'm sure that they have covered this previously as well, CNN ran pieces about the drug's relationship to
CNN, isn't that the news organization that the left likes to listen to?
risks of ADHD in kids and risks to pregnancy. Of course, now they've changed their tune to Big Pharma good, Orange Man bad, because who cares about consistency, am I right? There are, of course, other research papers and other studies and evaluations that have cautioned women against taking Tylenol while pregnant, as it may lead to potentially negative outcomes in babies. People
Whoa,
have
really?
also dug up Tylenol's previous tweets, where the company seems to admit itself that taking the medication while pregnant
Yeah, that tweet. That's the one I
is
mentioned
not
earlier.
advised. Although, admittedly, this is contradicted by what is directly written on their website right now, which argues that it has been widely tested and is safe for women in all stages of their life. For some reason as well, the situation has given left-wing outlets this weird haha moment, where they've posted articles saying conservatives are mounting down about pregnant women taking Tylenol, or the women posting these videos in the first place are in defiance of Trump, but I think that's part of what's actually insane here. I personally am a big believer in adults making their own choices, but making good and educated choices, informed choices, which is why back when I made my video talking about hormonal birth control, I really hammered on the fact that a lot of us in our teens, when we're prescribed the pill, don't have what I would consider to be good informed consent. But that's obviously a conversation for another day. But I think hilariously,
That's
the
fair.
informed consent, educated consent thing is what is sort of circling this entire topic. It's not as if Trump and co. said, you can never ever take Tylenol ever again. We're going to ban it and pull it off shelves and do all these things and restrict your access to it. They're saying
Although at this point, for liberals, I think that would make it easier if they just didn't have the option to do these things that can harm the children they're harboring or themselves.
when you take this, if you decide to take this, make sure that that's a good and informed decision. The Department of Health and Human Services has more or less said, use caution when taking this drug when you're pregnant and speak to your physician. And they didn't even say that it definitively causes autism. They said it's a factor in a series of factors. So all of these weirdos who are running around the internet ingesting this drug to, I don't know, own Trump, to own the right wing,
If you're doing anything to just own Trump, own the right-wing media side of things, you are obviously crazy.
are genuinely insane. These lunatic weirdos let their hate for Orange Man completely destroy their ability to use rational thought, because Trump and friends are not
You know, what I hope is that any of these kids that are a victim of these pregnant women just taking Tylenol, I hope they find these videos later in life and go, Mom, why were you trying to do things just to spite the orange president in office? Because to them, that's what she'll have taught them. He's that orange man. And I hope that their kids are asking them, why did you try to harm me in the womb? Because that's the bigger question that they won't know how to answer.
pulling this information out of their buttholes. It's coming from Harvard, and it's coming from other researchers and doctors. And if there is a potential that this drug causes autism, contributes to autism, whatever, I actually think it's a good thing that women have access to that information so that they can make their own decisions going forward.
Exactly.
I mean, as a complete aside,
All the facts and everything should be put out on the table, and it shouldn't be like, oh, you can't do this, but like, they shouldn't. It's just like, if they do, watch how much you're using, watch how frequently, like, everything with pregnant women, really. Like, obviously, they shouldn't be smoking. They shouldn't be getting in hot tubs and whatnot. They shouldn't be doing a heck of a lot of things while pregnant. But, yeah, this is one where it's like, yeah, obviously, don't go do
I
that.
would bet a lot of money that the people currently going bananas over this right now probably, were the trust the science folks during the big sneeze and think that Anthony Fauci is some sort of living god. So, there's that. And I've seen so many people share weird graphics saying,
Yeah, I've actually had conversations here with people who have autism and know that this full-blown crap here, autism, is a disease and it should be cured. Does that mean I think we should go eliminate everybody who's currently alive with it? No, obviously that would be stupid. That would be something that the Nazis actually did. But I think we should try to prevent more from being born. That way, that eventually one day maybe we can have 0 autistic kids born and have 0 autistic people.
autism is some sort of superpower that doesn't need to be fixed.
Number one piece of advice I can give for you: hire the most autistic person you know. I'm talking that motherfucker who goes nonverbal when there's groups bigger than 3. That is where the magic comes. Autism in the trenches, it's alchemy for literal cash. I mean,
For this it can be, but for some, those nonverbal, some of them need help with every facet of their life, and maybe there are moments where they can speak a little, but they get just nervous around people they don't know at all, or they only know a little. Like, there's a lot of different factors. It's not just, oh, I'm autistic and there's certain things my brain does differently, so if I get set up in this exact area, we'll be okay to do this exact project at the best of our abilities and do it better than anyone else. There's a group of them. They're there. They're about that big. And then there's the full autistic category that's a lot larger, where here's the percentage of it. You can't really see it that well, but maybe here. There. 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 Yeah, you get the idea. It's a very small group of people who become superpowered with their autism, but those are usually higher functioning, not necessarily like he said, the nonverbal ones, but yeah, we'll get there. And excuse me, I'm a little ill today. That's why today's video's late.
people don't get this, right? You're scared of the kid who looks like he might, I won't say it on stream, right? But like, that kid is a gold mine. Man, the guy that made Call of Duty, you think he can speak and hold a regular conversation? No. People don't understand that weaponized autism is the key to greatness. I mean, my whole generation, bro, we all had a couple bad vaccines, but it's the motherfuckers who tried to steer away from that instead of just accepting that something is a little off. We had some shit fried, but more importantly, that shit that was fried is the key to living like a beautiful life. Embrace that autism and then weaponize that shit. It's like so beautiful.
And maybe this is a bigger component to this than a lot of us realize, and I honestly don't want to get into it in detail in this video, but maybe part of the problem here is the fact that people have over self-diagnosed with autism, and
Oh yes, that is one thing why I'm like, ban TikTok. The self-diagnosis of every mental disease, disorder, ADHD, autism on that app is insane. Reddit does the same thing too, but I think a lot of the problem would be solved without TikTok being a thing. I'm so disappointed that the government did not go through their way of banning it and getting rid of it. Trump only changed his tune because it helped him win the election, I think, but come on. If it had just gotten banned prior to, COVID period, some of the other apps with shorts content, YouTube, Instagram, might have become a bigger deal. And the TikTok could have just floated the way of Vine. I'm not on TikTok. I never will be on TikTok. I figure the CCP, who owned TikTok until very recently for the United States side of things, they still own the bull company. TikTok, its brand name, it's everything, and they control the algorithm still. They still own that algorithm. That wasn't sold to Oracle for the data side of things. The data side of things is only going to be the United States viewers. And, excuse me one second. But yeah, the United States viewers users who will be having all their data onshore, which is kind of nice to not have it be sitting in some data center that Xi Jinping can just walk in and go, I want a list of every potentially pro-Chinese guy from US. Go to TikTok pages and find every single one of them. And then all of a sudden he gets this list compiled and he starts funneling pro-China rhetoric towards them, and then more and more. And those guys decide, hey, I like this and I'm going to share it. And then all of a sudden you got a whole generation of people who think, due to lies and propaganda, that there are ways around the world that are better than what the United States done. There's a reason we're a global superpower.
They have made autism this fun little quirky thing that you might have, that it refers to the sort of idiosyncrasies that individual people.
Oh, and the other thing about TikTok is because TikTok is worse than any drug on the planet because of its addiction rate. TikTok, by downloading it and opening up the app within 30 minutes or less sometimes, you will be addicted to the app because its algorithm has been trained to set you down something that you like, and 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 you like. And then you just keep going. And it continues to feed and feed and feed you to where the point you haven't realized, oh crap, I've been sitting here for 50 minutes and I've just been scrolling shorts doing absolutely nothing. TikTok is brain rot and needs to be removed.
Might have and display, rather than the debilitating neurological condition that it is that prohibits certain people from living full, fulfilling lives, that requires them to have full-time care, and really is a condition that's not fun at all. And I think something that really gets lost in all of this is that parents.
And as someone who is very ADHD, and due to other factors in my life, I would probably assume on the high functioning level of the autism spectrum. But we just, as my parents and I was younger, they didn't go that far to diagnosis. They stopped as soon as they hit 1 at ADHD. And then we medicated me with ADHD meds and went around the circle of different meds for that, and I was pretty okay. But I do think now as an adult that they should have gone way deeper and found anything else along the way.
Regardless of their political leanings and persuasions, I would imagine if they could, would snap their fingers and rid their children of the profound autism as RFK.
And anybody with autism would probably snap their fingers and want it removed like that. They would rather be free to have their own thoughts and actions of their own body controllable by themselves instead of the thing in their brain that's causing them to make certain decisions, to act certain ways, to do certain things, to prefer certain things certain ways.
A Junior calls it. Because they know that this is no life for their little people, and this is no life even for their grown children that they continue to care for. And if they could give that child the opportunity to live a fulfilling, happy, normal life, they would do that. So I find it extremely upsetting and disappointing that this specific issue gets politicized as much as it does, because yeah, people have autism and they have it to varying degrees, but for the people who are profoundly affected by this condition, it's not just little quirkies and idiosyncrasies. It's a debilitating, challenging way to live, not just for the person who has it, but for the people who have to care for that individual and ensure that they do have a quality of life.
Growing up, I knew somebody who had really high levels of autism where they were, not able to function in society without somebody else with them. And I 100% think they were also nonverbal, so you couldn't really even ask them what they wanted. You had to just kind of guess and try to be right. And I guarantee you, if they had the opportunity to flip a switch, to snap their fingers, they would immediately do it to rid themselves of their condition.
I really didn't want to get all serious on you guys, but I do actually think this is a very serious topic, and I don't think that it's a political topic. I think
And I also agree that it's a very serious topic. It's why I moved my video that I was gonna have come out for this part of the day, and I shoved it to tomorrow.
I think that it's a nonpartisan issue, and we should, I think, collectively be more focused on trying to find a way of bringing autism rates down. And so I'm sorry to the liberals who are upset about this, that this information is coming from people that you don't like, but they are committed to finding, not a cure necessarily, I don't know if that could exist, but they are committed to finding a way of ameliorating all of this for all of us. That last statement felt very pro-government, but hopefully you guys know what I mean.
Okay, Sydney, we know what you mean. We know you're not, you're not 100% on board with everything the government does, because I don't think anybody is. But when you are on the right side of things here, we love you.
You know what I'm trying to get at, because I don't have a big brain and I cannot articulate myself today. The last thing I want to note really, really quickly, because I do really think it matters, and again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, is the fact that a bunch of people are currently worshipping at the altar of Tylenol, and for some weird reason defending Big Pharma, because, okay, but what's not getting mentioned here?
Defending Big Pharma for the left wasn't on my 2025 bingo card, but they're so backward this year, it should have been.
Here is the fact that Tylenol as a brand has been at the heart of a bunch of not great lawsuits. It does cause negative effects on the body, and people routinely take too much of it, causing liver failure, kidney failure, high blood pressure. There's all sorts of issues that are not associated with pregnancy. Now, ignoring all of this, including the new pregnancy information, because you don't like who is delivering it, because you don't like who is telling you the news.
Yeah, I imagine if Anthony Fauci delivered the news, they would listen and worship him like he's their holy god or something.
Is reckless. Because like I said, this is not a political issue. This is a health and wellness issue. This is an issue surrounding us failing the next generation of little people who are being brought into the world with all sorts of conditions that we could avoid had we just listened a little bit better to the news and the information that was around us. Researchers have continually been waving the red flag when it comes to this issue, and it keeps getting swept under the rug. I have said this a million times, but I'm going to say it again. Drug companies do not care about you. They just
Drug companies only want to make money.
Don't. They are not impressed. They do not give a crap about the fact that there's a bunch of women currently taking Tylenol and potentially harming their pregnancies. They don't care about any of that. They don't think that you're some savior for their drug. All they
Yeah, they don't care about you. They don't care about any publicity, positive or negative you give them. They only want to make money. In fact, that's why there's so many different studies or so many different commercials for different drugs where you get 10% of the commercials talking about the good things the drug can do, and the other 90's like, hey, it could also do all of this negative to your body, potentially death.
Care about is getting their drugs to market, and whatever ways, whatever things they need to do to make that happen. That is what they care about. And I think to demonstrate that, all we really need to do is look at thalidomide, which was the drug that was prescribed to women, to pregnant women during the 50s and early 60s. It was a drug that was given to women for morning sickness, and yet it caused catastrophic birth defects. And the manufacturer of this drug, fun fact, knew about some of the drug's ill effects and chose not to publicize them, and this was a whole thing. Weirdly, this is one of the only things that I remember from the early days of my first degree, because we just did this like whole unit on something related to this. I don't know what it was, but anyway, I learned a ton about thalidomide. Don't ask me why this is the one thing I remember, but it is. So yeah, thalidomide was eventually, after all these babies were deformed and all these mothers and fathers and lives were traumatized and broken and destroyed, they finally pulled the drug off shelves and kind of were like, well, oopsie, look, we kind of messed up. This video's gotten really serious and I wasn't intending for it to, but I guess I care about this a lot, and I want to make the point that I think history tells us a lot about how drug companies are going to behave, because it's not as if they've changed since the days of thalidomide. They've just gotten much better at hiding their.
Oh yeah, they had to get so much better, especially at the age of the internet, where you can have people uploading, typing out their own stories in some comment or some blog or something, And all of a sudden, hey, this happened to me. Hey, that also happened to me. And now you get so many people collecting their information together. You get colleges that'll do studies on certain drugs. And then all of a sudden, hey, that drug company was selling you poison that actually wasn't helping you. It was just going to hurt the child inside of you or hurt your liver, kill your kidneys. Like,
Nonsense. Ultimately, I hate the fact that a bunch of mums are going to be looking at their autistic children and thinking, did I do something wrong? That makes me sad for them, it really does. But I am glad.
and to anybody who is a parent of an autistic kid, no, you did not do anything wrong up to that point. Unless you're one of these ladies currently abusing Tylenol by taking too much and potentially getting an overdose. Then you did do something wrong. But to the parents who have an autistic child, there's nothing you did wrong. All you can do now is what you can do positively for the kid. You can't go back in time and change things. You can't go back in time and, inject something in there and change that so he's not autistic or she's not autistic anymore. I say he because that's the more common. But it's like, you didn't do anything wrong. If you feel that way, I'm sorry you do feel like you did something wrong, but just change your thinking. Change your way of thinking. Like, I didn't do something wrong. This just happened. Now I have to help deal with it. And yeah, that might be scary for the thought of, I'm an aging parent who will someday not be around for my kid. And that can be a scary thought. And that's where creating a good network around you for them and for you can really come in handy. What I've seen a lot, the most common one I do see, is people in the church with different levels of there for help to create that biblical community. Excuse me. Biblical community of people around you, people that can help you, people that know who you are, know your story, and can do whatever they can to help you, and then when you're gone, your kid.
Add that there might potentially be some sort of answer to that question. Because even if it makes you feel bad, maybe it's good to know what happened and what transpired that might have led to a specific outcome. So on that front, although it's sad, maybe it's a good thing. And all these people who are running around taking these drugs as a form of protest are really just useful idiots. In the end,
they're all
believe that
idiots.
knowledge is power,
I don't
and I think
know if they're useful idiots, but they're definitely idiots.
that the more that we learn about specific conditions and the many, many contributing factors that lead to them, the better off we will be as a society. But for right now, I do wish that the people on TikTok would just stop. Now, on that very happy and pleasant note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder, check out Dream/Beam using chocolate would have found, hey, why would you do issue where you're looking at this all unfold and just thinking, why would you do this? Why would you politicize this? This is so silly. Do you think that people are doing what they're doing on TikTok because they're trying to protest Trump? What do you think underpins that? Because I don't really think I have an answer to that. Do you think that there is actually a meaningful relationship between Tylenol and autism? And do you think that's something that maybe
Not specifically Tylenol, but acetaminophen, the main ingredient in it,
we should explore further? What do you think of all of the little components surrounding this issue? The fact that the media are making fun of Trump and co for this, the fact that in years gone by, they've pointed out the relationship between this drug and autism, and what you generally make of this issue overall. As always, if you've made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here and you're not subscribed to the channel and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe, as well as leaving this video a
I'm not to interrupt you, Sydney, but as well, subscribe to her, subscribe to me. Her video will be in my description
like and a
as
comment.
well,
Do you
like
really
I always
them?
do.
I really do. My mom called me out. She was like, I bet you don't. And I was like, no, I really do.
And like her, I'll probably read any comments left for me. There aren't very many right now, so it's pretty easy. I challenge you all to make that job hard. Make my life difficult. Make it so I have no time but sitting at home reading comments all day, because I have so many and I like to read them. But anywho, that is part 1 of my part 2 for Tylenol. I got another one coming later from Tim Pool. I believe that's who did that one. But yeah, have a good day and see you later.